It is Frank Rocco. Pace car is off. Ready to go. Grandma, put your teeth in your pocketbook. We're about to go racing Mod Squad style.
Off the turn, green is out from Ed Nelson from Napa Auto Parts, and Panic takes it to the bottom of turn 1. Already Kid Rock making his magic off 2. Turn 4, back up on the wheel. Here comes Keith Rocco, moves into second.
Frank Rocco dropped back to third. Let's check down in turn number 3.
Battle up front, single file as they fan off of turn number 2. Headed down into 3. It's Panic with the lead by only about a tire's width, but heavy pressure from behind as Rocco looks to the inside off turn 4.
Not enough that time by, but Keith Rocco is haunting your leader, the number 99 of Rowan Panic.
He certainly does. He dips at the inside, back down to turn number 3.
He's got a little bit of running room, gets up underneath Panic, but Panic shuts the door.
And turn your attention a little bit further down, and you'll notice that the deuce is moving up. Ryan Priest has broken into the top 10. He's being shown in 8th. Now he's just got to find a place and a way to get around Cipriano.
Priest now goes to the outside. He works his way around Todd Owen. Back up front, Panic still leads him, but Rocco is glued to his back bumper. Challenge is on right at the point as well.
Open up ever so slightly, but here comes Rocco once again. Looks to the inside. He'll try to make a bid for the lead in 3. They're dead even off turn 4 and give the advantage to Rocco.
Oh, and that horsepower on that Wheeler Automotive car, the number 88. He just shot out of the cannon. He is our second leader, but Panic is not having enough of much to say about it, Ben.
He certainly is not, but while
Look
all
at this.
that's been happening.
On the inside, again, Panic.
Crossover move. He moves down underneath Rocco. Off the turn they come, and Rowan Panic has it back at the line.
Or does he? Down into turn number 1. It is Panic with the lead, but going way up high, Mike Massaro, is car number 88.
Yeah, and Rocco has the high line now into turn number 3. Again, Nerf bar to Nerf bar, dead even through turn number 4. Panic trying to hold him off. He tries to stretch it out now as it comes to start finish.
Hey, keep your eye on number 2. As Ryan Priest predicted, he is working the outside and is now moved into the 6th position.
Priest in the 6th spot. 7th is behind him is Cipriano. Back up front, wheel to wheel and side by side. Off the turn, Panic by a nose as they head to turn 1.
Panic and Rocco locked at the hip. Nerf bar to Nerf bar. The advantage goes to Panic, but ever so slightly down the back straightaway. And here now comes a bid from the 91 car. Looking to the inside of Rocco. Rocco still up high. Panic with the lead.
And look who has moved into that 4th position. While we watch the side-by-side battle, TC Ted Christopher is going to try and stack it up side-by-side 2 deep.
Christopher holds on to that 4th position. Now back to 3. They're starting to double up once again.
Down on the inside is Ryan Priest trying to do the swap with Ted Christopher. Lap number 10 is in the books, Mike.
And things starting to settle down now up front. Or should I speak a little bit too early? Rocco once again looking at the inside of Panic, but Panic has the line. Single file. Rocco second, followed by Ruwako in 3rd.
And Priest is continuing to look to the inside of Ted Christopher.
He certainly is, and all of a sudden Priest thinks twice of it, and right there with him is Eric Burt, the Bulldog. We haven't talked much about the 66. It's among the top 6 cars as well.
Let's set the starting field, the running field at the end of 10 laps. Rowan Panic, Keith Rocco, Frank Rocco running in the 3rd spot. Ted Christopher was in 4th. Ryan Priest 5th. 6th to Eric Byrne. Joey Cipriano moved into 7th. Todd Owen 8th. 9th was Woody Pitcat and Dan Avery in 10th. Challenge for the lead in turn 3.
And go to the inside. The crossover move, though, by Panic. Panic back down low. Draws even at the start-finish line. The advantage to Rocco, but the bottom shot, turn number 1. Panic taking the lead back, but only by a tire's width. They're still locked. Nerf bar to Nerf bar. Wheel to wheel down the back straightaway. This for the lead into turn 3. Rocco with an advantage by only about a foot, but Panic not going away.
They come together off turn number 4, but Rowan Panic has found the number 1 spot again. Frank Rocco, another former champion, Jack. He's right there in 3rd and applying the pressure. Here comes Keith Rocco again.
Down on the inside goes Keith Rocco in the number 88. He goes hub to hub and just blows by going in on Rowan Pennick, and he takes over the lead. But look on the inside. Going to the inside of Keith Rocco, starting to at least explore the down low move, is the Deuce. Having come from midfield, it is the defending Whelen Modified Tour champ, the SK Modified Tour champ, and that, of course, is Ryan Preece.
Meanwhile, Ted Christopher still running in his tire tracks, and then it is Eric Burt right there behind him. Todd Owen pulls out a line. That's the battle for the 7th spot. He's down underneath Cipriano as they head down the back straightaway.
On the inside goes Rowan Pennick. Is he going to do another crossover move? Keith Rocco now has to contend with Frank Rocco on the inside and trying to give an assist. Oh boy. Here we go, side by side, both of them, bumper to bumper. It's Rocco and Pennick going at, Rocco and Preece going after Pennick.
6 different lead changes in 17 circuits. That is a record, no question. As we look back, here comes Preece again. Winds it up tight. Frank Rocco on the inside. Preece as they head down towards turn number 3.
Preece sweeps off the corner, working the high line now, trying to get by Rocco. Rocco pinned to the apron. Preece dead even as they come off 4.
Frank Rocco in that number 91 starting to fade. Ryan Preece, as predicted, wanted to come to the front. No surprise for Keith Rocco. Meanwhile, directly behind that battle, TC Ted Christopher has his hands full with the Bulldog Eric Byrne.
Eric Byrne's got a car that works on the bottom. Christopher goes to the outside. Here comes Preece. Preece saw a little daylight, thought twice of it on the bottom, went up to the top side of the racetrack. It didn't pay off.
The battle for third on back getting more and more intense lap after lap. Eric Burt now pinned to the bottom of the racetrack as Ted Christopher tries to take over that 5th spot. Meanwhile, your leaders have checked out and built up a 3-car length advantage over the rest of the field.
And the big question as we start to complete the 21st circuit, Ben Dodge, is how much is Rowan Pennick and Keith Rocco using up on this back and forth scenario for positions 1 and 2. You remember, you don't have the opportunity to change tires.
That is so true. And there's another story here that Preece, remember, he came from the 12th spot, so he's used up a little bit of that giddy up and go there. Back down in turn number 3. Here comes Keith Rocco again. Lead change number 7.
But is it going to be lead change number 7 at the line? No, all of a sudden Rowan Pennick goes down low on the inside. Lead change number 8 coming to Mike Massaro.
Those two just keep swapping the lead lap after lap. Pennick, a master of the crossover move, able to retain the lead. He's now trying to stretch it out, but he can't shake Rocco.
25 circuits, a quarter of the event is now history. Rowan Pennick, your leader. Keith Rocco is second. Frank Rocco, Ryan Preece, and Eric Byrne. Then it's Teddy Christopher, Todd Owen, Woody Pitcat, and Joey Cipriano.
You know, let's give a call, fellas, to the 91, Frank Rocco. An infrequent competitor here, usually just you have a former champion, as I said, started up front, has raced real well all night long, and he is not faded. But Ryan Preece has thoughts on that 3rd place position held by Rocco.
He certainly has, and he closes up that gap ever so slightly as they come off turn number 4. Another car we should talk about is Todd Owen. Owen has had an impossible season. He's in the 7th spot with car number 81, and he too is going forward as he closes up the gap on Ted Christopher back towards turn 3.
Mike Massaro, when you take a look at the way they're running down into turn number 3, I am very impressed with the way Keith Rocco is able to carry that Wheeler Automotive Chevrolet down into the corner.
And that's helped him stay in this. Although Pennick has had a very strong race car, Rocco's been able to run the bottom and the top. As you can see here, he slides up to the top to take a peek. There's nothing there. He'll get back in the tire tracks of Pennick. Still a long race to go, but he's not letting up. A little bit of bumper tag, it looks like, headed down into turn number 1. Rocco once again takes a peek to the bottom of the racetrack off turn number 2, but gets back in line as they head to 3.
Well, Rowan Pennick has not had the season here at Stafford in the SKs he'd like. He'll tell you he's been off. He hasn't finished. The car is broke, but tonight it looks like it's spot on. Caution.
Trouble on the backstretch. The 00 of Membrino has come around, our first caution of the night.
First caution comes out for the 00 of Membrino. We are now 29 laps into this Napa Auto Parts 100-lap event.
Let's check in with let's check in with Keith Rocco and see what he thinks about the way his drive's been going.
You almost don't have to go so deep. You know what I mean? And kind of keep them at a quarter. Got your quarter panel. I don't know if you'll slide up into them, but that's where he makes a pretty simple crossover.
Yeah, 10-4. I don't want to beat it up too much here, though, so if I got to settle a line, I'll settle a line.
What you're listening to is the spotter and Keith Rocco discussing just how much they want to use the car up. Let's see if we can check in with Keith. Let's check in quickly first with Tony Sutton. Tony?
Yeah, Cipriano just came in the 84 car. They made a minor adjustment to the rear suspension and sent him right back out. We're down the other end of the wall, so we're not really sure what's going on, but it looks like just adjustment in tire pressure on the car that's in the midsection of the pit area. Back to you.
All right, now we're going to check in with Keith Rocco. Keith, how much are you using the car up there?
Yeah, Jackie, I'm here.
What about the condition of the car? How's it going? What about the car condition, Keith? How's it going so far?
You got Ryan Priest there.
Very confused.
Well, 28 laps are up on the board. We are now still in a holding pattern here. Down in pit road, Doug Colby, one of the cars that came up through the consolation event. Kurt Brainerd is there as well. The Williams car that won last week, and another car that was on the podium is Sean Foster with car number 25. So lights are off on the safety vehicle at the point. The field crosses over. 28 laps and counting in this 100-lap event.
Got to be impressed so far by the runs, as I said, by Keith Rocco and by Eric Byrne. They certainly have been working and trying to maintain a conservative approach to things. But with the way that Ryan Priest carved his way to the front of the field, and with the way that the battle between Keith Rocco and Rowan Pennick has gone, I think we're getting ready for a dandy middle of this race. Pace car is off, getting ready to see the green flag. Who will come up through the gearbox the quickest? Well, Priest gets there first, but boy, it is side by side down into turn number one.
Bottom of turn one, off the second turn. Here comes Rocco. Priest is the tail that wags the dog.
Rocco has the advantage in 3. It was the restart that he needed. Able to bypass Pennick, and here comes Priest looking for second.
It was a bobble by Rowan Pennick coming out of the corner that gave the advantage, and looking to capitalize and jump on it is the Deuce, that orange number 2. But he is having his hands full with Frank Rocco, who dives into the turn number 3 area and tries to rim ride out and take over that third spot.
Woody Pitcat was sideways the last circuit by in turn 4. He had moved up to the top 5, and then the car got evil. Christopher is on a mission down underneath the Deuce in turn 3.
But the battle is enjoyed for the lead. Rowan Pennick gathering back up his wits and momentum has moved to the inside of Keith Rocco. Across the stripe, a dead heat that lap.
No question, they were side by side, evenly matched as they head down the back straightaway. Back crossover as they head towards Mike in turn 3.
And Rocco takes a peek to the inside in turn number 3, wheel to wheel for the lead. Can Pennick do the crossover? No. And we got trouble on turn 3. One car turned around, backing into the wall as the battle for the lead continues in 1.
That looks from our vantage point to be Chris Jones.
Yep, Chris Jones, the 39 car, will bring out the second caution of the event. 32 laps into this one. Since the last caution, Jack, we saw a couple of things happening here. Woody Pitcat started to go forward, then the car got loose, it slipped up the racetrack, and he went back a couple of positions. All of a sudden, some other guys we haven't talked about, Dan Avery, is coming to the front of this field as well.
And so far, it's been a battle of wills between Rocco and Pennick. They're lined up side by side. Field bunches up. Pace car dives down pit road. They're coming to you, Jack.
Field getting ready to see the display of the green flag. It is out, coming up through the gearbox. Keith Rocco gets the jump, but will it be enough going down into turn number 1? He gets a half car length advantage, but look who's on the move, Massaro, the 91 of Rocco, trying to get that second spot.
Yeah, Frank Rocco, that is, to the inside of Pennick, trying to chase down Keith Rocco. Rocco opens up the inside lane, but it's not enough for Frank to capitalize. Pennick up top, right in the tire tracks of Keith Rocco. Rocco leads into turn number 1, but the battle right now is for second place. Pennick up top, Frank Rocco down below. With a great view of it all is Ryan Priest back and forth.
While all that's been happening, battle right behind him, Ted Christopher, Woody Pitcat. Inside lane opens up. Here comes Frank Rocco. Jack, back to turn 1.
By a bumper, second position, but Rowan Pennick making the outside work, and they are holding up the deuce of Ryan Priest. Priest has nowhere to go, Mike Massaro.
No, he's content to ride the tire tracks of Frank Rocco for the time being. Rocco and Pennick still locked at the hip, battling for second, allowing Keith Rocco to get off to a little bit of an advantage. That goes away, though, very quickly in turn number 1. Pennick dives down into the corner, and off the corner he comes, right in the tire tracks of Keith Rocco, trying to chase him down for the lead off turn 3.
Frank Rocco's got a car that sticks like glue on the inside. That pays off as he now moves into second. Priest sees the door open. Bottom of turn 1. Ryan Priest up to 3. Pennick back to 4.
And Ryan Priest now has some clear sailing and can set the gun sights of that flying deuce on your second place machine, Frank Rocco. Clean and green out in front is Keith Rocco. Kid Rock in the maroon, number 88, has a little bit of breathing room, but I don't think you can say the same, Massaro, for Frank Rocco, who's beginning to feel the heat from Ryan Priest.
Ryan Priest always determined. Certainly Frank Rocco knows he's there. A big rear view mirror of the number 2. Single file, though, off turn number 4. Nobody stepping out of line as they come down into turn number 1. Frank Rocco now taking a peek to the inside of Keith Rocco. There's really nothing there. The fan off of turn number 2, still single file. Down the back straightaway, perhaps some contact between the Roccos. Keith gets out of shape. Frank takes advantage for the time being, but the crossover move by Keith. He'll try to take it back as they head to start-finish.
Frank Rocco's had a limited schedule in 2014, but he is not limited tonight. Like days of old, he takes back the lead. Down the back straightaway, here comes Priest, working him over. Pennick has to settle into 4.
Out of turn number 4, it is Frank Rocco taking the lead. Keith Rocco in second, Ryan Priest third, Rowan Pennick in fourth, and lurking back there is Ted Christopher, who is starting to at least knock on Rowan Pennick's door. Side by side down into turn number 3. It's a Rocco sandwich. Frank on the inside, Keith on the outside. Who will have the advantage out of turn number 4? At the stripe, it is Keith Rocco ahead of Frank Rocco. Can he make the outside work, Mike Massaro?
He's definitely trying to as he turns off of turn 2. And he's got the advantage over Frank. He'll close down, dropping to the bottom of the racetrack and take the lead away. Meanwhile, here comes Ryan Priest, making a bid for second place, trying to get to the outside of Frank Rocco, headed into turn number 1, and they are dead even as they battle for that second spot while Keith Rocco has the advantage, but you can throw a blanket over those top 4 cars.
No
An
question.
amazing battle for the lead.
No question about it. Ryan Priest is hooked up in the outside lane, but now all of a sudden, Pennick sees a little daylight to the bottom, and Rowan Pennick goes back into the 3rd spot. Here comes Ted Christopher in for position number 5 as they start to string it out a bit down to turn 3.
Ryan Priest has showed a great deal of patience and discipline starting in the 12th position. I have yet to see him use really the car up in any fashion. You can't say the same with the man that's on the point. Kid Rock, Mike Massaro, has been fearless as far as taking the car.
And he's really had no choice. He's either had to try to find a way around Pennick or try to fend off Rocco. It's been no easy ride for Keith Rocco this evening. And with it being a 100-lap race, Jack, you know these guys need to conserve a little bit of that rubber, because when we get into the 90s or so, they're going to be chasing it all over this racetrack.
Well, they continue to run single file and nose to tail as they work their way back to the line. Keith Rocco still the leader of the event. Nobody pulling out a line this time. A little further back in the top 10, we see a good battle also starting to come into play. Glenn Reen is starting to make his presence known. Remember, Reen started way back in the 17th starting position.
And Glenn now being shown in the nice spot. We're single file, but still there is a lot of challenging going on at the point. Frank Rocco again down on the inside looking for an advantage. Keith Rocco not using up all the racetrack, but certainly making it as difficult as possible for the number 91 to get an inside slingshot around the Wheeler Automotive Chevrolet.
3 different leaders, 14 different lead changes. Right up front, the story is those 3 cars for the 3 different leaders. Down the back straightaway again, it looks like Rocco's going to try another bottom shot move soon.
Frank looked to the inside and could not get enough distance on the inside to be able to try and navigate around to Keith Rocco. Let's see what happens as they come to Mike Massaro out of turn number 2. They are hub to hub.
Once again, a battle for the lead on the back straightaway. The Rocco side by side with Pennick trying to work the inside lane himself. Latches himself to the rear bumper. Frank Rocco trying to get underneath Keith Rocco while the yellow comes out.
Tommy Membrino spins the 00 right at the start-finish line just as the halfway mark was about to be issued. Yeah.
So 49 shows as they cross the stripe just about to the halfway point in the event. We'll set the field for you. Keith Rocco, Frank Rocco, Rowan Pennick, Ryan Preece, and Ted Christopher among the top 5. 6 is Woody Pitcat. Eric Byrne is 7th. Todd Owen, good run in the 8th spot. Glenn Reen is 9th. And Dan Avery is in 10th.
Let's check in with Keith Rocco, our leader. All right, Keith, it has been back and forth. First with you and Pennick, and now all of a sudden you and Frank Rocco. How's the car handling?
The car's pretty good, you know. We're having a lot of fun up front here, and at the same time we're trying to save some tire for the end. Like you said in the beginning, you only got the 40 start on, so we got to make it last. But I'd like to see Ryan Preece get up here in the mix and we can pick up where we left off about lap 40 last week.
Well, I don't think you're going to have to wait long because right now Ryan will be restarting just on the outside of row number 2. So I think your wish may be granted to you very shortly.
Yeah, you can tell Ryan that he's got 4 special tires on that car. That tires are match perfect and stagger special. And if he goes to the outside, he can't hold.
All right, laying the gauntlet down, Kid Rock. One of the top 10 cars on pit road, Eric Byrne, deciding to take advantage of the fact that the cautions do not count. And we have got the crossover. Let's check real quickly with Tony Sutton. Tony?
2 more teams now switching front to back on the outside of the tires. So as your comments earlier, they're starting to eat up the rubber, and they're hoping the drives can steer and the steers can maintain traction back there.
Think about that. When was the last time you saw in an SK modified race tire rotation like we have on the highway?
We have never seen that before. I will tell you that right now, Jack. Let's see what's going to happen. Lights are off on the pace car. Rocco and Rocco in the front row. Rowan Pennick and Ryan Preece. Green is out. Back up through the gears, and Keith Rocco. But look at Preece. He just laid that chrome horn on the back bumper of Rocco, and it didn't pay off. Here comes Christopher.
Christopher taking a peek to the inside. He's back in 3rd. Pennick in 2nd, chasing Keith Rocco as they come up on lap traffic off of turn 4.
Avery is sideways, gathers it back. Car number 10 literally got sideways. Todd Owen has now worked his way up as Owen is now among the top 7 cars.
Yeah, but what a great restart, not only by Ted Christopher, but by Rowan Pennick. They get a breakaway now going around Tommy Bowles. They're going to have to tiptoe ever so slightly out of turn number 4. Halfway mark has been achieved with Rocco, Keith Rocco in 1st. 2nd spot to Rowan Pennick, and 3rd belongs to Ted Christopher.
They come up on the lap traffic. Tommy Bowles, the 76, goes down a lap. Bowles tries to guard the inside lane, let the faster cars go on the outside. But here's Preece. He's right there, and all of a sudden, Bowles almost stops his run to the front.
Yeah, Preece got pinned down just behind Tommy Bowles. Bowles now diving to the bottom of the racetrack, trying to get out of the way of the lead lap cars. Meanwhile, up front, Pennick trying to put some pressure on Rocco as they come to start finish.
They are single file down into turn number 1, and Ted Christopher, as we said, moving back into that third position. Ryan Preece now a clear shot on Frank Rocco. That will be the challenge for the 4th position. Now, Preece, a couple of circuits ago, Ben, actually almost made it 3 wide into the corner when they were bottled up behind Tommy Bowles and got on the binders and backed out and said, let's gather it back in.
Back to the front of the field. Panic makes a bid for it again. All of a sudden, Preece is all over Frank Rocco in 3.
Race traffic is going to come into play in this extra distance event, and Mike Massaro, the key is going to be where do you use the race traffic and can you utilize it as a pick?
That we already saw that on about 2 laps ago or so when we saw Ryan Preece get pinned behind Tommy Bowles. That's going to become a bigger and bigger issue as this race wears on and more cars go down a lap. Right now the field relatively stretched out, only 2 or 3 cars off the pace, but the leaders are approaching another car that seems to be a little bit slower than the leaders, about 6 or 7 car lengths before they get to the 39 of Chris Jones.
You know, Ted Christopher is right where he'd like to be. He isn't using up a lot of that race car, but he's watching what's happening in front of him. Christopher is going to become a factor. 57 now up on the board. Keith Rocco, Rowan Pennick, Ted Christopher, Ryan Preece, Frank Rocco, Todd Owen round out the top 6 positions here.
One of the great things that I'm seeing is that Ted Christopher is able to glue the front of that car right down on the white line. With 56 laps in the record book, that bodes well for Christopher, but Pennick is still challenging for that front position held by Keith Rocco. Down in front of you, Mike, side by side.
Pennick to the bottom of the racetrack. He'll take the lead away from Rocco off turn number 4 and hold it at start finish. Meanwhile, Ted Christopher just minding his own business, staying back, taking a good view of things, and waiting for the right opportunity to pounce. It's hard to believe it's taken this long for Christopher to be mentioned in this broadcast, but you knew he would be, and he's going to be a factor before this thing's over.
I think now we have to look a little further back in this field in a battle for the 5th spot, Jack, is Frank Rocco, Todd Owen, Woody Pitkat, and Glenn Reen. Reen has passed more cars than anyone else in this field, car number 17.
And let's not forget that all of this back and forth and swapping for the lead between Pennick and Rocco has been to the advantage of Ryan Preece as he tries to close without wearing his stuff out. And he had that little back off and getting on the binders. And now he has narrowed the margin over Teddy Christopher to just a 1.5 seconds as they go down into turn 3. So it is Rowan Pennick with 0.2 of a second lead over Keith Rocco. 0.3 seconds back behind them is Ted Christopher. And then just a 0.5 second behind is Ryan Preece trying to close.
Preece is trying to close up that gap ever so slightly. Then there's that real dogfight battle for that 5th spot. Frank Rocco there, one of the early leaders in this event. Todd Owen, Woody Pitkat, and Glenn Reen. 4 cars, single file as they come back to the stripe.
I don't know, Mike. I get the sense that Keith Rocco is getting just a little impatient as they come to you.
Yeah, he's not afraid to use that chrome horn. He's getting closer and closer. Can't apply it just yet, but you can tell he's just inching up on that rear bumper of Pennick, waiting for the right moment.
65 laps in the record books. The century mark getting a little bit closer in your front windshield. And will this be Rowan Pennick's night? Has he been able to conserve his tires? What about Keith Rocco, Ted Christopher, 2 drivers that just a couple of weeks ago swapped the lead back and forth? And then what about your 4th place car? And that is a fast closing Ryan Preece, who Keith Rocco said, I want a piece of tonight.
He certainly did say that. And right now, Ryan Preece is just kind of riding it out at 65, clicks off on the big board. That is not the story for Frank Rocco and Todd Owen in that battle for the 5th spot. Those 2 cars have been nose to tail as Owen takes a peek and looks to the outside.
Looks high and then tries to do the crossover move down to the inside of Keith Rocco down the backstretch.
And they'll return to single file. Just behind them, you'll see wide racing. But the battle between Rocco has settled down now into turn 1.
Woody Pitkat and Glenn Reen are trading positions, however, as Reen has now moved into the 7th spot. Pitkat has faded back to 8th.
Remember, Glenn Reen started back in the 17th starting position. He has passed more cars than anyone else in this field.
lead of this race. Rowan Pennick, and this is the lengthiest lead that anybody's had, Mike.
For the most part, it's been nip and tuck for the lead. You're right, Jack. And, well, Pennick appears to be stretching it out a bit. He's got about a 3-car length advantage. Perhaps Keith Rocco just trying to conserve a little bit, maybe save something for the closing laps. He knows not only does he have to get around Pennick, but he's going to need to fend off some 2 hard-charging drivers in the likes of Ted Christopher and Ryan Preece. They're not going away anytime soon either.
You can see that exactly. Nobody is running away. About the same distance. Second and third is maintaining, as now we are at 30 laps to go in this event. Rowan Pennick, the leader. Keith Rocco, second. Ted Christopher, Ryan Preece, and Frank Rocco, the top 5.
I'll tell you, I'm beginning to sense that everybody has gone into tire conservation mode. The lap times from the start of the race to now have dropped by a full second. No telling where the lap times will be when we get down to the final 10 laps of this event.
Well, you know, every one of these competitors know what these cars did at 40. Some even know what they've done a little bit beyond that. But for some, they have no idea. We are now in a zone that's completely different. And we've had long runs. We have not had cautions and brakes. We've had long green flag runs.
Here comes Glenn Reen trying to acquire another spot. He wants to move to 6th.
He is down underneath Todd Owen. They are side by side as they head towards Mike Massaro in turn 3.
Reed has the advantage, but not by much. Maybe a foot or so. Owen not going away, but he's pinned on the outside groove, and it's not going to work for him. Give the advantage to Reed.
Glenn Reen in a race car that he occupies and works on by himself in Wilbraham, Massachusetts. Well, a regular here at Stafford until this year when cubic dollars ran out. And boy, could he use a sizable payday tonight.
He sure could, and he has passed more cars than anyone else, starting in the 17th position. And as you look at those times, Jack, he is among the quickest cars currently on the racetrack.
All right, fellas, here's the way it's going to start to shake down. Rowan Pennick is just about 0.4 of a second away from coming up on a gaggle of cars. And Mike Massaro, the key is going to be not do you pass, but when do you pass?
Yeah, he's going to have to time his moves absolutely perfectly. He's got a lot of cars to maneuver on by, and that low groove has been taken away by the lap cars. That's really been the primary line for Pennick and for Rocco throughout the course of the evening. Pennick's going to need to work that high line as he works traffic.
Now trouble, just in front of the leaders. Car goes around just in front of Doug Colby, and there is contact there. And we believe it's the Danny Cates car
that just went around in turn number 2.
Yep.
And it looked worse than it actually was, because what had happened, Ben, is going into the corner, Doug Colby saw it very quickly and backed out of the throttle.
He did, and it almost was in perfect timing, but unfortunately Danny Cates' car was around directly in front of him, and you can see smoke and steam coming from beneath the hood of the car. Let's go quickly back down on pit road.
Well, during that accident, some pieces came off one of those cars, and Ted Christopher ran over them. Whether or not there was any damage done, we'll have to wait and see, but he definitely plowed through some of the debris on the racetrack. Back upstairs.
You know, Jack, we're down to the final 24 laps of this event. This is, you were talking about tire management. You were talking about slowing the pace down a bit. We've looked at timing and scoring. We've seen that happen, not just with one car, it's happening throughout the top 5. The field is crossed over and doubled up. Lights are off from Whelen Engineering on the pace car. They head into turn number 3. We're about ready to go back to
and watch how these guys tackle this restart. You've got to come up through the gearbox, but get the traction and put the tire rubber down to the track. Who's going to have the advantage coming out of turn number 4? Green is out. Ted Christopher with a move on the inside. Christopher is going to try and challenge for second. He gets by second. Now he's going after first, Mike.
And he's got a good look at it, too, off of turn 2. Pin to the inside, trouble behind him. One car out of shape, sliding through the grass. The leader's storming down into turn number 3. Pennick has the advantage, but feeling the pressure from Rocco and Christopher.
That was the 79 of Membrino. He will not bring out the yellow, however, because he is back under power. But look at this contest up front.
Christopher back up to the 2nd spot. Meanwhile, here comes Preece on the outside. He's trying to get up there with Keith Rocco. That's what they were talking about. We've got one sideways. It's Glenn Reen, car number 17.
What a difficult end to a night for Glenn Reen, the youngster who started way in the back of the pack and now has his day come up just 23 laps short of a
Other
big
cars
payday.
involved in that skirmish was the 92 car of Brian Sullivan, the 17, as we mentioned, of Glenn Reen, and Eric Burnt, the number 66 car. 77 laps are up on the board, Jack, and Teddy Christopher is looking like, well, he's been playing this card game with those cards right up on his chest, and no one knows what's coming.
Well, with that having been said, though, look what's going on directly behind him. What did Keith Rocco want? He wanted a piece of Ryan Preece. And now, all of a sudden, Preece and Rocco found themselves on the outside and literally having to work with each other to try and get around the guys that were on the inside, including Pennick and including Frank Rocco. And now, all of a sudden, that all goes by the boards.
It sure does. Better be careful what you wish for, I think can best be said in that one.
Trackside with Tony Sutton. Quick report from pit road.
Well, Glenn Reen was pushed a little bit, got sideways, and I said, is he going to come in? They said, absolutely not. He's come from 17th to 6th. He's got a strong car, and he feels he can still go forward.
We should point out that 24 of the 27 cars are still running here on lap number 77.
I'd like to see that happen in the Whelen Modified Tour.
You won't see it. I hate to tell you that, Jack, but let's see what's going to happen as we're about ready to go back to green flag racing off turn number 4. We saw what happened last time. Will Christopher make the move on the outside?
And look who does not fire. Keith Rocco not coming up through the gearbox. It holds up the inside lane. And Frank Rocco now challenging Ted Christopher for that second spot. Now everybody gets up to speed. And down into turn number 3, it is Rowan Pennick trying to hold off the inside move of TC Ted Christopher. They lock horns down at the start-finish line and into turn number 1, side by side yet again.
Christopher on top of the game now, down the back straightaway towards turn 3.
Christopher made his own hole last time. Meanwhile, big trouble on the back straightaway. Several cars in the wall. And that will bring things to a halt.
Caution comes out. Lap number 78. We've got, well, a half a dozen cars.
Eric Burnt, Glenn Reen, we can see. We can see that Sean Foster is pulled up under power.
The Williams car is also there.
For the 39 car and the Williams car, Membrino also involved.
Yep.
In super speedway racing, they call that the big one.
It was a big one, too. 78 laps now complete. Cipriano is down on pit road. Jervis's car smoking a Nerf bar, rubbing on the right rear of the car as well.
Let me catch up on the social media. An awful lot of people opining that this is going to be Ted Christopher's race. In second in terms of tweets, and it's at Stafford Speedway, they are saying that it is going to be Kid Rock that's going to win this. And then in third, it's the 99 Rowan Pennick. You don't like the way it's going on the social media? Well, tweet us at Stafford Speedway and make your vote count, because we have got 22 laps left in this one.
We sure do, and as we can see down in pit road, Bowles is back in, Glenn Reen is back in, Jervis's car, Sean Foster, he's had a tough night, Brainerd is also there, and now the Membrino car is the final car to pull down on pit road. They're going to take them down through the inside of the back straightaway, and as they still work to clean up the racing surface on the backstretch. We'll set the field for you. Rowan Pennick is still your leader. Ted Christopher still in second. Frank Rocco is in third. Keith Rocco is in fourth.
Let's quickly get a comment from Joey Cipriano. He's out of the race.
You're not happy with the car, but the tough break, what happened?
That's hard racing, coming down the last 30 laps of a race for 5,000 to win. Guys in the back, they get all bunched up, and it sucks being on the top. You have nowhere to go when stuff like that happens. I thought I found a hole, and someone came from the wall. And
we're going green. I got to go, but thank you very much for the comments. Back upstairs.
And we are back under green. Rowan Pennick trying to hold off Ted Christopher on the outside. Right behind him, he's trying to hold off Frank Rocco, Keith Rocco, and now look at Ryan Preece on the inside. Side by side, it is Rocco and Preece. And look at Ted Christopher. Oh, a great move by Ted Christopher, gives him the lead and getting an advantage. Riding the wake into second spot was Frank Rocco. Now they all do bumper tag in turn 2.
Christopher went way up the hill. They are 3 wide for the 3rd spot. Pennick in the middle. Priest backs out of it. Now the door opens. Priest moves to the bottom. 3 wide for 3rd Jack as they come to the stripe.
It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Keith Rocco backs out of it. Ryan Priest has moved into the 3rd spot. Rowan Pennick battling on the outside, trying to take advantage. And look who's moved into the conversation. Woody Pitcat.
Woody Pitcat running up front in the point parade. Now Frank Rocco made a bid for Christopher. It just doesn't happen. Look back there as Woody Pitcat and Keith Rocco are duking it out. That's the battle for position 5.
19 laps to go in this thing, and all of a sudden Frank Rocco starts to stoke the flames, going to the inside, Mike Massaro.
Rocco's still showing he's got quite a bit under the hood, and the tires look pretty good as well as he keeps it pinned down on the bottom of the racetrack off turn number 4. Tries to slide up underneath Teddy Christopher, moves Christopher out of the groove off turn number 2, and it may work to his advantage. Rocco with the lead, headed down the back straightaway, and following in his footsteps, that's Ryan Priest. Meanwhile, Ted Christopher swept to the outside.
Ryan Priest is a man with a mission. He's coming to the front of the field. There's no question about it. Priest now slides up the racetrack under Christopher. Now it is Priest into seconds.
They have taken the gloves off. It is time to duke this out for the final 17 circuits. Frank Rocco in front, but he feels the hot breath of 2 stellar competitors. Ryan Priest, the Whelen Modified Tour defending champion. Teddy Christopher, multi-time track champion and Whelen Modified Tour champion. And now Rowan Pennick makes it a four-car tango into turn 3.
Pennick now moves into the 3rd spot. Back off turn number 4. Pennick is up to position number 3 again. But Christopher now back up on the wheel. He goes to the outside again. Christopher on the outside of Pennick, battle for 3rd.
Christopher just can't find his way back down in line. Will finally be able to do so, but not until he has to settle in that 4th position. Meanwhile, Frank Rocco up front, feeling the pressure from Ryan Priest. Single file racing, but it won't last this way for long, I'm sure.
1 week ago, Ryan Priest saw his day go up in smoke when he was black flagged for avoidable contact. It hurt his feelings. And when I mean hurt his feelings, don't shed a tear, but he said, we don't like to race that way. I love to race side by side. I said to him it was high risk, high reward. And that basically set the tone for what he was going to do tonight. There's a black hat, there's a white hat. That's the morality play that comes into play whenever you go racing, especially here in the SK Modified. But the big question is, who wears the black hat right now when you look at Frank Rocco in front in the 91 and Ryan Priest in the 2?
That is a question that is still not to be answered with 88 laps up on the board. Once again, Priest tries it again. This time he looks to the bottom. Frank Rocco brings the car back down, pulls it back into line, and Pennick still running in the tire tracks in turn 1.
As they come to Mike Massaro, it looks like Frank Rocco's making a very wide car out of the leader.
He really doesn't have much of a choice. He's got a lot of pressure from behind. Ryan Priest right there, Rowan Pennick, and of course Teddy Christopher waiting to make his march to the front as well. Once again, a peek to the inside, but Rocco able to shut the door in turn number 1. Doesn't go high, pins it down to the apron, sweeps off the corner on the back straightaway. It's single file racing back to 3.
We are 10 laps away from a $5,000 payday. Who will cash the check? Will it be Frank Rocco as your leader? Will it be Ryan Priest, who has come from mid-pack to try and challenge for the lead? Will it be Rowan Pennick, or will it be Ted Christopher? Stay tuned. We are running out of laps. And now, look at Ryan Priest down on the inside, slingshotting in. Rowan Pennick taking advantage of a high-flying Frank Rocco. And now the caution comes out.
Caution flag
Trouble
comes out.
Trouble in turn 2.
Yes, sir. Top side of the racetrack. Membrino, car number 79, brings out the caution with 9 circuits remaining.
And here is really the part that, well, Ryan Priest doesn't want to hear.
That's right.
You go back to the last completed green flag lap.
That's right.
What we have to do is check timing and scoring. Was it Frank Rocco in front at that point? Yes, indeed it was. That means all that work by Ryan Priest, throw it out the window.
Out the window, and believe it or not, there are 21 cars still on the lead lap of a starting field of 27. So that's pretty impressive in the record books all by itself. 17 lead changes among 4 different leaders, Jack.
Let's update you on the social media. We've been asking you to tweet to us who you think's going to win this race. Well, all of you people that waited until the last 10 laps and now are calling for Ryan Preece, good job out of all of you. At Stafford Speedway. Follow us and tweet us. Who's going to win this thing? Well, I'll tell you what, it is going to be a dandy 9-lap dash for cash.
It sure is. We're about ready to get him fired back up again. All eyes are on turn number 4. When Priest took the lead, half of the grandstand got up and cheered. Green flag is back out. They're dead even as they cross the stripe.
And do you see who is pushing the outside lane? Ryan Preece coming up, but on the chrome horn and using its bumper to try and bump draft is TC Ted Christopher. Down into turn number 3. They are stacked up 8 deep, 8 rows.
3 wide as they come back to the stripe.
God, look at Rowan Pennick. Looking to the inside. Now trying to climb up the ladder. Ryan Preece, who reminds us of, well, Ronnie Bouchard, the way he makes the high side work, Mike.
Definitely some old school racing here. 4 cars battling for the lead, approaching a slower car as they come down the straightaway. Rocco holding the advantage, but man, there is some pressure. Teddy Christopher, Rowan Pennick, Ryan Preece, all there. Any one of those guys could come away with a victory, and it's not just them. There's cars 5th and 6th, just waiting for one of them to make a mistake. Still lots of action to play out.
Actually, the top 12 cars are packed together like a swarm of bees just to come shooting out of the nest. Meanwhile, look to the outside again. Here comes Preece again, but Pennick is the blocker, and he moves back into line.
And does he? He goes to the inside, tries to get the lead. He gets down in the grass, and look at the move. The swap of positions out of turn number 4. They lock Nerf bars, they bump, and all of a sudden, it is Ryan Preece that has taken over the lead. And a car spins. It's the 66 of Eric Byrne, and that brings out the caution. And guess what? Guess what? Throw that out the window.
Yes, all over again because we go back to the last completed scored lap.
The lights are out atop the Dodge Challenger pace car. That means we're going back to a dash for cash. 5 for 5.
5 for 5 as they head into turn number 2. And down the back straightaway, Ryan Preece on the inside, Frank Rocco on the outside. Mike Massaro, you've got the best spot to watch the restart.
And I'll tell you what, this has been the most fun I've had calling a race all year long, and it's only going to get better. Ryan Preece on the inside, Rocco on the outside, Ted Christopher up high. Rowan Pennick down low, pace car off as they come to the green flag.
And the bump and grind at full tilt. Getting a push from Rowan Pennick is the 2 of Ryan Preece. Pennick tries to ride the wake into second. He does. And look at Tony. Oh my gosh, another yellow.
4 cars involved in this one. Bowles is right in the middle of all of that.
And how about the run on that restart by the green number 51? You know who scooted into 3rd position? Zach Sylvester.
Yes, and remember, that car came from the consolation event, to be honest with you. So he's come a long way. He's passed more cars now than anyone else.
You know what? We've been talking about social media. Let's go old school, shall we, right now?
Yeah.
What do you think, folks? Is the SK 5K brought to you by NAPA a resounding success? You want to see more of this?
Yes, they do. You can tell by their response and their enthusiasm.
So you didn't have to follow us on the social media. You didn't need a smartphone. Even a blind man could appreciate what's unfolding in front of us tonight here at Stafford Motor Speedway.
Sure can. Down in pit road, it is Richie Pillai back down there as well. The Bulls car cut a tire. That was the reason that car went around. And we're still back at the same story, Jack. 5 for 5.
And with Rocco on the outside of Ryan Preece, you need to pay attention, right, Mike? As they go into turn 3, that's when everybody tightens up, tries to just have one more gear shift before they get to the Napa Go Zone in turn number 4. And you've got to be able to put that power down on the racetrack at that point.
Yeah, we've seen it all night long. Drivers make their moves off turn number 2, get a good run down the back straightaway, but it gets kind of chaotic down in turn number 3. That's where the action's been, and will continue to be in the next 5 laps for sure.
Here they come on turn number 4.
$5,000 up for grabs. Frank Rocco gets on the gas, but then he has to back out just a bit. It is side-by-side, hub-to-hub, rim riding down to take the lead is Ryan Preece.
Preece in command down the back straightaway. Rowan Pettick back up to second on the inside. Christopher, the crossover move.
Ted Christopher trying to dispatch with Frank Rocco in the blue 91, the 13, looking to get a podium position. I just sense, Mike Massaro, that Rowan Pennick still has a chorus or two to sing in his song for 5K.
He's going to have to make it happen here in the next couple of laps. Riding the tire tracks of Preece down into turn number 2. A very smooth line. Chaos behind him, but Pennick and Christopher just waiting for an opportunity to get by Preece. Preece, though, no bobble whatsoever into turn 1.
No question, Preece still in command of this one. Pennick is still setting in second, 97 up on the board. This time when they come back to the stripe, 2 circuits to go, 1 mile left as they head back to turn number 1.
The popsicle sticks are up, the clenched white, the clenched checkered, 2 laps, 1 mile to go. Can Ryan Preece hold off a hard-charging Rowan Pennick? Pennick takes a bead down the backstretch.
This may be one of his last opportunities. He peeks to the inside, dives down low, tries to get up underneath Preece. They're even off turn 4.
Hub to hub out of turn number 4. Who will be at the stripe? It is Preece with 1 lap to go. Coming to you, Mike.
Trouble.
A spin in turn 1.
Preece goes spinning. Zach Sylvester is involved, and the field remains under green. As the crowd goes wild, the double checkers are out, and Rowan Pennick will cross the line first. Ted Christopher in for second. Frank Rocco for third. Keith Rocco for fourth. And Glenn Reen to round out the top 5. Wow, Jack.
Words cannot describe what we just saw. Just absolutely amazing. Mike Massaro will be making his way to victory lane and will be talking to a very happy Rowan Pennick. What a case of disappointment yet again. Second week in a row for the 2 of Ryan Preece. And all of a sudden, you can see that Rowan Pennick is waiting. Are we going to have we're going to have a duplication of what the Flying Deuce does? Not an American flag, but it is the NAPA flag that Rowan Pennick will circuit around the racetrack with. Shades of Brad Keselowski.
That's right. As Rowan Pennick has had just a roller coaster season here at Stafford, and now he spins the 99 in victory celebration with that Napa flag.
Well, let's just hope that when he goes to victory lane, he doesn't cut his hand like Brad Keselowski did.
That's right.
Right. Wow, this thing just had something for everyone tonight, and it certainly, I think, bodes well for what was the brainchild of my late father called the SK Modifieds.
Absolutely.
Let's
Jack.
dispel another rumor. Everybody asks me all the time over the course of the last 30 years, Jackie, what does the SK stand for?
Tell the story, Jack.
Absolutely nothing.
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 Nothing at all. It never meant anything right from the word go. Hard to believe.
Wow, so Ted Christopher finishes in second. Frank Rocco holds on to third. Keith Rocco moves to fourth. Glenn Reen, 5th spot. Woody Pitcat is 6th. Todd Owen is 7th. Chase Dowling finishes 8th. Brian Sullivan 9th. Dan Avery finishes 10th. 11th is Eric Burnt. Sean Foster, Tommy Membrino, Michael Gervais, and Kurt Brainerd round out the top 15.
In the 16th spot, Zach Sylvester. Tough break for him. He had such a great run going. Tony Membrino to finish in 17th. Rich Belay 18th. Ryan Preece 19th. Tommy Bowles 20th. Matt Galco 21st. Nick Bovin 22nd. Ronnie Williams 23rd. Joey Cipriano 24th. And Danny Cates 25th.
And Chris Jones will finish in the 27th spot with Doug Kobe in 26. Well, we're about to have a giant $5,000 celebration down in Victory Lane. Let's check in with Mike Massaro. Mike, you there yet?
Made it to victory lane, and Rowan Pennick just unbuckling. You can tell how excited he is to pick up this 5K. A big victory. Still climbing from the race car, but certainly a lot of emotion down here in victory lane. Let's grab him for a moment here and Rowan, you're on your way out.
Don't get... He's going to stay in the car first.
You're going to stay in the car. Let's grab some comments here. First off, what were those last 5 laps like for you?
I knew we had a strong car, and we just had to get in the right position at the end, and we did. We got in there behind Priest in second and made 2 to go. We made the move, and can't thank everyone enough.
Keith Rocco pushed you for most of the early stages of this race. Were tires at all a factor for you in the closing laps?
The tires, I mean, were amazing. Hoosier Tire did a great job with these tires. You know, they didn't even slow up much, I think, the whole race. I can't thank Hoosier enough. Jimmy Fuller, the Root family, NAPA, all the fans for coming out. This was an awesome event. I got to thank everyone that was involved. Awesome job, Bob and Kelly. Best car owners ever. So happy for everyone.
Take me through that move that won the race for you, that move in turn number 3, diving to the bottom of the racetrack. Describe what was happening there.
You know, I got a good run down the back stretch, and Priest tried to block me a little bit, but, you know, I got up underneath him and stayed off him in the center and drag raced him down the front, and car was awesome. I couldn't be more happy with it.
Congratulations on the victory.
Thank you very much.
Rowan Pennick picking up the win here tonight at Stafford.
And Mike, thanks so much for your help. And you know what? You did such a great job down there in turn number 3. We're going to give you 4 hot dogs before you leave, okay?
With the condiments, by the way.
This is completely out the window then.
There you go. All right, Ben, your impressions of what you just saw.
It was an incredible event. I think it had all the drama that you could ever want to find, right from the beginning to the end of the event. We had 17 different lead changes, and of course, car number 99 came out at the end in a controversial finish that they'll be talking about for weeks and years to come.
Let's get some comments from the other podium finishers. Let's check in with our very own Tony Sutton. Tony?
We're trying to corral Ted Christopher. He's discussing the latter part of the race. We'll go to him rather than him come to us. Yeah, I couldn't count the number of passes back and forth, but you stayed in contention the entire race. I know you were a little disappointed at the very end, but man, you drove the wheels off that thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. We had no radio from lap 20, so that sort of, you know, you got to really be cautious and stay in your lane and stuff. But no, it was a good run. I really don't know where Ryan was going on that last pass. I think he was trying to cross over, you know, Rowan, but obviously I was there.
Well, second place after 100 laps with this group of drivers is something to be proud of. I know you're one spot short of where you wanted to be, but man, it's always a thrill to watch you in the 13. Thank you for the race.
It was a good race. You know, the SK's put on a good race for 100 laps. It was right from the start all the way to the end. It was a good race.
Outstanding.
All right, as he makes his way to Frank Rocco, who let's give a shout out to a third-place podium finish for a part-time competitor this year.
That's right. He has not run much at all.
You're a full-time racer. You just don't get on the racetrack as often anymore.
Yeah, you know what? I just haven't had much luck this year. This is the first race I finished with all 4 wheels on it. So we had a good car. Any one of the 5 cars up front could have won at the end, depending on, you know, the caution and where you were restarting from. So it was a great race.
Frank Rocco, congratulations on third place. It was well earned.
Thank you.